We're here. Matt Gertz is on the line with us, a senior fellow with Media Matters for America, MediaMatters.org, the website, which you hear me constantly referring to on this program. Matt, welcome to the program.
Hey, how are you?
Great. Great to have you with us. I was just astounded by the article you wrote. I've studied the Trump-Fox feedback loop for months. It's crazier than you think. Number one, the weird idea that a guy who's got an $80 billion intelligence apparatus turns to Fox News for what's true boggles the mind. But beyond that, how is it that it took a whole year for America to figure out that Trump was just live tweeting Fox and Friends every day?
Well, I think that folks have been sort of cued into this for a little bit, but I think I perhaps sort of put the pieces together in a way that is breaking through some of the noise. You know, it's been known for quite some time now that the president loves Fox News. He loves Fox and Friends, the morning show on that network.
Well, he was a regular guest on that show for years, wasn't he?
For years, yes.
Yeah.
Before he was running for president, that was sort of the way that he broke through into the conservative base as a political figure, actually. It was
Right.
going on Fox and Friends, interacting with those hosts, and having a platform on a regular basis to be talking about the sort of conservative stories that that base likes to hear about. And so there had been, I think, at CNN and a couple of other places, sort of repositories of tweets in which Trump appeared to be making some sort of commentary on particular cable news programs. There have been times when he has sort of tagged particular shows. I think what I did and what I think has sort of helped this breakthrough is I've been on a daily basis since October looking at all of Trump's tweets, especially in the morning, trying to match them to Fox programming, seeing if they would match better onto other networks, and pushing it out on Twitter, the same sort of method that he is using to push all of this particular type of madness. And it's happening more often than I think than folks were aware of. And the sort of new reporting that we've seen over the last couple of days about the quote-unquote executive time that the president is taking, sort of hours of time every day booked into his schedule in which he appears to be largely watching the television and sometimes tweeting about it.
From 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. now, we're finding he's sitting there and watching Fox News and live tweeting it. How real is this? What kind of frequency is Trump retweeting things from Fox News let me rephrase this. It wouldn't concern me if Fox News was teaching Donald Trump things that were actually true. But, and this is one of the great things that Media Matters has done for so many years now, is point out the actual lies that are coming out of Fox News and other right-wing media literally on a daily basis. How frequently is Donald Trump retweeting, repeating, calling for, arguing for whatever, things that he heard on Fox News that are simply not true?
So I think there's sort of two different categories here, right? There are the sort of live tweeting that we're seeing, where he is literally getting up in the morning, going to his television set, turning it on, watching Fox and Friends, watching some other Fox News program, and basically tweeting about what he's seeing. And then there are the types of narratives that he's sort of steeped in over the years by virtue of being a regular viewer, to the point where, you know, he's just sort of, he's convinced about these sort of broad topics like there is widespread voter fraud in the United States.
Yeah, or carnage in sanctuary cities. What?
Exactly, or stop and frisk will, you know, result in hundreds and thousands of New Yorkers getting murdered at a much higher rate. You know, these are sort of the broader conservative myths that he just buys into hook, line, and sinker by virtue of this programming. But, you know, this is just, it is part of his routine in a way that I think maybe folks were unaware of before this. When you look at something like, you know, his vacation, he went on an 11-day vacation to Mar-a-Lago at the end of December, beginning of January, and he was live tweeting Fox on 8 of those 11 days. So it is happening at a high rate, for a long period of time, just sort of spewing this stuff out. You see stuff like, at one point, he on Twitter accused the FBI of paying for the Steele dossier as part of this sort of deep state conspiracy against him. That was something that he got directly from Fox and Friends. It was pushed by Andrew Napolitano, the former judge and major conspiracy theorist at that network.
But it was not true.
But it was not true, yes. And this is just stuff that, these types of fixations that the network has about subjects like uranium-1, this sort of false conspiracy theory that Hillary Clinton had allowed a uranium company to be sold to the Russians because she had received a lot of money in donations from Russian sources. Which just doesn't line up in any real way. That is something that Fox spent a ton of time on, and on several occasions I tracked, tweets that Trump did about that topic directly to particular segments that had just aired on the network. So, and this is a sort of a feedback loop, right? Because he is tweeting what he sees on Fox, and because the rest of the press is following whatever the president does, as they should, these are public statements from the president of the United States. All the rest of the press ends up reporting on whatever Fox's fixations are, their sort of conservative obsessions. And I think that sort of gets the entire media discussion away from important policy topics that Americans really need to know about.
So Fox has largely replaced Drudge as the first source of information for a lot of reporters on what is actually of consequence and important in the news every day.
Except they don't necessarily know it, right? Before
That's right.
I was doing this sort of research, a lot of reporters were just assuming that they were seeing that the president was the one sort of calling the shots about what the national discourse was. And now it turns out, well, he's just sort of responding to what he's seeing on Fox News. They're the ones that are actually sort of taking the lead. So,
I get it that partisans in the media, Hannity, for example, Limbaugh, these guys, may feel that it's so important that their party hold power that they're willing to stretch the truth or stoke a little phony outrage, push stuff, uranium-1, Pizzagate, whatever it may be. I get that, but and it's not a good or healthy thing, I would argue, and we try not to do that on this program. And I think, frankly, one of the things that largely distinguishes left-wing media from right-wing media is that we aggressively try to operate in a fact-based sphere. But I'm wondering if it has sunk in to Rupert Murdoch that he has created a hyper-partisan network which may work to the benefit of a political party in terms of holding money and power, but is now actually not just influencing voters, it is influencing the President of the United States and many members of his political party who clearly, I get these guys on, these Republican members of Congress on this program, and they start talking about the conspiracy theory du jour from Fox, and literally half the time, I don't know what they're talking about. They're naming names of people who I don't recognize, who were like some guy in the uranium-1 deal or something, and like, this is the most consequential thing ever. Does Rupert Murdoch have any concern that he is basically reprogramming the politics of a country in a way that might be insanely destructive? Or is this simply an extension of what he did in the UK?
Yeah, I don't know, but to be honest with you, Rupert Murdoch is made out like a bandit from this administration. If you look at the sort of policy coming out of the FCC, where they've taken several steps that have allowed Murdoch and other moguls like him to sort of expand their media holdings. If you look at this deal with Disney that he's trying to do, in which he would sell a lot of 21st Century Fox assets, like the movie studio. He needs the Justice Department to be able to sign off on that and prevent antitrust lawsuits from happening there. He is doing extremely well in this administration. There was a time early in the campaign where there was a divide at Fox News between Rupert Murdoch and at some point Roger Ailes about the direction of the party. But I think that is basically over at this point. Murdoch has turned his network into a propaganda apparatus for the President of the United States. He does not appear to show any real qualms about it. He is being rewarded handsomely for his efforts. He, for all intents and purposes, is getting what he paid for, getting what his.
Except that, unlike Trump, his sons, where Don Jr. is probably more right-wing than Donald, Lachlan and James are a little more middle of the road. We just have 20 seconds left. Do you think that when Rupert goes, that Fox News will change?
I don't know. They're businessmen, and the Fox is not only an incredibly powerful political actor, it's also very lucrative. This stuff sells.
Yeah, well, and that's a challenge. That it's, when not only have we weaponized BS, but we've turned it into a major profit center. We got a problem here. Matt Gertz, you're doing God's work over there at Media Matters for America. MediaMatters.org is the website. You can tweet Matt at MattGertz. Matt, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And let me again recommend Matt's article. It's titled, "I've studied the Trump-Fox feedback loop for months. It's crazier than you think."